इकबाल भी इकबाल से आगाह नहीं है, कुछ शक नहीं वल्लाह नहीं है. I did not and do not know who and what is Jalal Uddin Ahmed. I was born with myself. I had no plans of any kind. The aim was to be able to be helpful to others. And I did not know really what will be the best way of doing it except by being myself.
Jalal Uddin Ahmed is an institution by himself, and he has so much stamina that he would beat any one of us in his energies. And every day I think he gets up in the morning and he starts off thinking, what is the new project I'm going to start with?
I would plainly say that he's a visionary.
I found him to be a person I could respect and trust.
Jalal Saab has a favorite couplet that he recites. मीर अनीस का है. वो कहते हैं कि लगा रहा हूँ मज़ामीन नौ के अंबारे ताज़ा, ख़बर कर दो मेरे खिरमन के खोशे चीनों को. And he actually, I think he practices that couplet because he's doing something new all the time, and he's coming up with ideas, with anything that relates to art. It excites him.
I came to Pakistan in '47, a few weeks before partition. I did not come of my own accord. I was brought by a benefactor whom I did not know. He abandoned me at the airport, said, Jalal Sahab, I brought you here because you were in the midst of fire and I just wanted to rescue you. I was on the way to the airport. I brought you to the airport and brought you to Lahore. I am now delivering you to Lahore. You will be your own charge. I did not know what to do. And I had some contact in Karachi. And I came to Karachi. I went straight to Orient Press. They had an office there. I found my way. And I said, I must tell the Quaid-e-Azam about a fire in Delhi. And that is the first memory I have of Karachi. My mentor really is Shahid Sohrawardi, and in one of his very early meetings with me, he said, young man, you have come here, what is your ambition? I said, sir, I have appeared for the administrative services exam and I have scored very well. I understand that I am very high on the list and I'll go into civil service. He said, no, I suggest that you forget about this. You wait for another assignment that I have in view. I would like you to be Assistant Director of Publications in our foreign publicity organization, but you will have to wait for it. And I did wait. This post was advertised, I applied, and I was selected. And that's how, I think in 1951, I became an Assistant Director in the Department of Film and Publications. He suggested that if we want a good art movement in Pakistan, we should first have a good Institute of Art History. Lo and behold, this third International Art Critics in '51 came on the way, and through Professor Shahid Sohrawardi, I received an invitation and I went there and I started making contacts with a number of art critics.
Jalal Uddin Ahmed is the first person in Pakistan's initial history who wrote a book in 1954 on Pakistani art. Now, who could have thought at that time, with a new country, thinking about art? But, because it was in his teachings and in his love for and passion for art, he brought out this book.
The book's name was Art in Pakistan. This book began as a documentation of the art in Pakistan as it was shaping up in those early years from 1947 up to '54 when the book came out. The first edition, of course, came out in '54 when Pakistan was only 7 years old, and it came out in subsequent editions, including one published several years later in 1972. This revised edition and updated edition of 1972 came out under Kegan Paul, a British publisher, and is sponsored by and partly covered by contribution from UNESCO under the program for introducing the art of the Eastern and Western world together. The arts in Islamic world started with the idea that at that moment, and I'm talking of the year of grace 1982-83, there was no presence of Islamic art as such, because art was art. But there was a strong group of what you may call art galleries, art museums, which had a specific interest in Islamic world and Islamic arts. And there was a very big festival in London. When we arrived there in 1980, festival was over. This institution had been abandoned because there was no more money for it. And Alistair Duncan, who was director of the World of Islam Festival project, told us, okay, we do not have the money to carry it forward. Are you in a position to do something? I said, yes. We are planning a magazine of Islamic arts. He said, wonderful. Whatever I have, I'll be able to explain to you. Whatever you have, if you can give us any support, I should be grateful. And I do not want, he said, money. Money is irrelevant. I only want material. So what we decided was that let there be a seminar on the arts in Islamic lands, outside of Britain, in Britain. So that Britain was also on board, but any other country. So we said, what will be that magazine? He said, call it Islamic art. Azra opposed it. He said, no, I'll not call it Islamic art. She said, please, we will call it arts in whatever form, wherever it is happening, in the Islamic world, outside the Islamic world, in Britain, in Egypt, or in Timbuktu, or in Greece. If there is an Islamic art element, we'll bring it in. They all agreed. And this was at a seminar where there was more than 50 scholars from all over the Islamic world got together. That's how the Arts Islamic world began. And we started publishing it from 1983. So the first issue came out in January of 1983, and that was called Arts and the Islamic World. We had sort of covered the seminar itself and also the main themes of that, and that was the beginning of a regular magazine which began by being a quarterly but ultimately became half-yearly and came out for 18 long years, during which we published 36 volumes, and it became a major Islamic art magazine anywhere in the world.
I think after he wrapped up art in the Islamic world, a very new important phase began in his life. And it's interesting that sort of he, in a way, had retired. You know, this is like the time when most people retire. But here was Jalal Saab coming back to Pakistan and revitalizing FOMA.
When we came back on so-called my retirement and our retirement back home, and she took the promise oath from me, you will not talk about new project. I said, all right, I'll not. Then one day, when the chairman of the FOMA invited me to come and take over as honorary secretary, I said, I'll ask my wife. He said, what is your wife to do with it? I said, well, she has something to do with me. So he said, all right, don't worry. Next day I found she is already a trustee of that FOMA trust, under Mr. Zulfikar Lakhani. He said to me, Jalal Sahab, what will you be doing here? Arts and Islamic world aap hi kar rahe the. I would like to start. Is there any gap that I can fill? He said, I don't know. Go and find out. So I went around, spoke to the artists. They said, we do not have an art magazine. So if FOMA, we are going to set up, or we are going to take over now, can you start publishing monographs on Pakistan art and artists? Because we have very little material. So because there was nothing very much happening in this area, FOMA took up the challenge of initiating an art research and publishing project. I have got the maximum support from my committee and trustees, including my cruelest employer, a trustee herself, of FOMA. We have 15 trustees. They have been most cooperative. They have done whatever they could. These include people who have nothing to do with art, but they care for what I am doing. The best thing I have learned is, in my 90 years, if there's one lesson I have learned, it is, you do your own doing, your own work, in whatever manner you can, or resources available to you permit this to happen. Don't worry about the shape that it takes, don't worry about the mechanics of it, don't worry about the finances of it. So long as you can get the finances to do it, please go ahead and do it.
I've never met anybody like him to date. At this age, he has such kind of commitment, such kind of energy, such determination. And I quote him in my own company. I said, wow, we should learn a lot from him. Because people half his age cannot run the speed at which he runs. And such commitment which he has, determination, say, I want to do something, he'll make it happen.
My bookmaking, as an author, it is, I owe it entirely to the couple. I refer to them as a couple because Mrs. Jalal was always there, in spirit or in physical form. She was always there.
A friend with whom I can discuss and disagree without any problem.
I am a problem person.
That is enough. A good friend is always a friend when you can disagree with. So my life is, I like Jalal Uddin Ahmed for that.
All I can say is, Jalal Saab, please keep going with the energy that you have. MashaAllah, you've got another 100 years.
My dream really would be to have the nucleus of some kind of an institute of art history in Pakistan. Failing that, if you can't have the Institute of Art History, which is a far cry from just a center of documentation, even if I can, at the end of my career or life, have a semblance of an art, history and documentation center in Pakistan, I'll be quite happy to meet my creator in the other world.